Hello there. My name is Patrick.
And I'm Tim.
What are you doing today, Tim?
Today we're going to talk about Resident Evil 9. And what do we want from it, what do we think it's going to look like, things like that. Basically a discussion around Resi 9
Yep.
for whenever we get it. So to start it off, we'll start with the simplest thing. Who do you want to be the protagonist to be?
I don't know. Like, what happened at the end? So, we had Resident Evil Village.
Yep.
Chris was there.
Yep.
They took down... Spoilers, by the way. They took down the big bad.
Yep.
And now things are left in the hands of Rose Winters.
Yep.
And you had the DLC where they're working with Rose on stuff.
Yeah.
And all
Rose had her own DLC in Resi 8.
Yeah. See, initially I would expect it to be Rose, but I know you mentioned that you wouldn't really want it to be Rose.
I don't want it to be Rose.
But why is that?
Because I want the Lexi character.
Oh, that's right. But who's still alive besides Chris?
None of the main Lexi characters have died in any of their games.
So why haven't we
So they're
seen
still
them?
alive in the world of Resident Evil.
Where's Leon?
Somewhere.
I mean, who would you want to return then?
For me, I've done math for this.
Okay.
So the easy answer is Jill. Because basically within the last couple years, we've seen the best depiction of each of the Lexi characters on some kind of next-gen format.
Yeah.
Because Leon, his best depiction was Resi 4, and we got the Resi 4 remake. Chris's best depiction was Resi 5, and we know we're getting the Resi 5 remake. Claire, best depiction from what I've heard was from Code Veronica. And so if they remake Code Veronica, then there's Claire's best depiction. Ada shouldn't be a main protagonist anyway, she should be a side character.
Yeah, because she's
And
not
either way, I would say her best depiction was in Resi 4, and again, we got that in the Resi 4 remake.
Yeah.
So because of that, I think for the new game, they should focus on Jill. Because she hasn't really had a best depiction, really. Or at least I can't really think of what I would say her best depiction would be. So I would say give her Resi 9 and give her her best depiction for Resi 9. And then again, Claire can have the Code Veronica remake. Chris and Leon have had or will have their remakes.
Yeah.
So I think Jill would be the best option to have a Lexi character come back as the main protagonist for Resi 9. The next thing I want to talk about is scale.
Yeah.
Because there's rumors that it's going to be full-on apocalypse.
Oh.
But I don't want that to be full-on apocalypse, because I feel it will just turn into Resi 6 again. And
Yeah.
Resi 6 was not great. So, like, for me, I want them to keep it small scale. Keep it like 7, keep it like 8, where it's a contained area
Yeah. Like
that you're running around in.
the size of a city at the most, kind of thing.
Even that's kind of big. But yeah, so I want them to keep it small scale and self-contained. What about you?
I think the same. I have no expectations for it. The only expectation I have is that they would continue with where they are right now, with maintaining the sense of horror and thrill. Because I know that for 8, it was definitely much more of a thriller than a horror.
Yeah.
With the exception of the creepy baby doll thing.
I mean,
I would say that was a pretty solid thing for me as far as some build up for horror was, but everything else was mostly thriller, and that fits within the game's expectations, right? And it didn't just feel like an action game either, which is the point. So yeah, I would hope that they keep along those lines. I wouldn't want it to turn into like just full on action, because those things are cool, but that's not for Resi. Like the point of it is for you to really experience that kind of horror, and that's what they've established for their fan base.
Yep.
Which is obviously why they had a lot of backlash with 6.
Yep. In terms of villain, because 7, it was basically like 3 threats.
Yep.
And like 3 villains. 8, it was same thing, where it was like 3 or 4 threats / villains.
Yep.
For 9, would you want them to continue that? and again have it be like 3 or 4 threats? Or do you want them to scale it back and just have it one single threat?
I don't know. I think they're doing a pretty good job at balancing the multiple threats.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like for Village, it really works because it's a village.
Yep.
Right? You're already walking in with the expectation of there being multiple threats because they're a big family.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got away with that in 7 as well because they're a family.
The family, yeah.
So unless they throw in another family, I don't know if multiple threats will work.
Mm-hmm.
And they might need to focus on one threat that changes over time, kind of like with Nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
So that you have those differences in the fight. But I don't know if I want a repeat of Nemesis, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, I'd want it to be a new character.
Yeah, well, because I want another Resi 5 where it's one threat, a unique and cool story for the villain, and throughout the game, building up the beef between the villain and you.
Yeah.
Chris and Wesker, they built up the beef throughout the game between them, the two.
Yep.
So I want that same thing for Resi 9. I want one main villain, one main hero. Oh, they can do like a duel thing where you have 2 campaigns, so you have 2 characters that you play through the one story with.
Oh, I see. Like with
Resi 2 had it. And then for simplicity's sake, like the second character could be Chris, and so it's like Jill's campaign, Chris's campaign, but it's still one story that, you know, they have their unique environments and unique weapons.
Have we had a campaign
and unique bosses that unique to each of them.
We haven't had a campaign with those two, have we?
For those two?
Yeah.
First game.
First game.
In the mansion.
Did you play as him, though?
You played as
Chris?
Jill, and then the other option was Chris, yeah.
Wait, what do you mean option? Like you choose?
Yeah, you chose either to play as Jill or play as Chris. And then, like I was just saying, they had different weapons, they had different boss fights, because Chris, for example, I think had the spider boss fight, and Jill had like the snake shock boss fight.
Interesting.
So like that same thing for Resi 9, like 2 characters maybe, main villain, 2 campaigns that's uniquely different from one another.
Yep.
Would be amazing. And would be what I want from Resi 9.
I think that would be a really nice callback as well.
Because we haven't gotten that in a long time.
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to say that this could be their last game that if they wanted to.
It's not going to be their last game.
It's not.
I don't want it to be their last game. Resi is like Assassin's Creed, never gonna die.
I think that it could be a really cool callback though to the first game of like they all circle back to where it started.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I wouldn't say that they should go back to the mansion unless they
I don't want them to go back to the mansion.
But seeing those two in action together, I think would be interesting, especially if you had the set like the different campaigns where you could see it from the different perspectives.
No. And then it could actually a Wesker related family member, because you know, they could say that they have another sibling, a part of the Wesker family, and that would be completely fine. And then, because Chris killed, Chris and Jill was there as well in the helicopter, so she's also technically responsible, but also not responsible. Yeah. She's an accomplice of the murder. Because they killed Wesker in Resi 5, the plot for 9 could be family member from Wesker wants revenge on Chris and Jill for killing Wesker in Resi 5. And then that's Resi 9. You play as Jill, you play as Chris, the whole idea is like, you know, it's family, the siblings, and then you have this main threat coming after them as a family and them as siblings, because the villain wants revenge against them for killing Wesker.
Yeah.
And then that could be the game.
I think it would be cool, but the thing is I feel like it would be like, I don't know. For me, it would feel like a tad of a cop-out for who the next person would be, because of course people would be interested in someone who's related to Wesker, right? And it feels a bit like a cop-out for who the antagonist would be. Yes, obviously it would be redeemed by the fact of it being a completely different story, and it would especially be important if for the character to be completely different from Wesker, because you can't fight him the same way or have the same powers. It has to be very different, right? In which case it might work. I just feel like it might be a tad bit of lazy like connection for plot.
How is that a lazy connection?
I don't know, because they've already done it. Like they've already done it, whereas they have they're fighting a sibling.
Yeah, but they
Or
haven't
a
done it
family
where a
member.
sibling wants revenge for their sibling.
I mean, I guess.
And that could add a unique twist and unique flavor to it.
But what I mean is that it feels like we're relying too much on Wesker.
No, it's not.
Well, because
Like, for this game, sure,
yeah,
but that's fine.
okay,
Because, like, then it's like 3 games have Wesker out of
Yeah.
10 games. That's fine.
I guess that might be fair.
And they could make it, because Resi 5, it was where he just is super strong. He's basically Superman without the heat vision and frost breath. And then with some mutation tentacles.
So for if it was like someone related to Wesker,
Yep.
then where has he been this whole time?
Hiding. I don't know.
Why strike now?
Because maybe now he finds out that Chris killed his brother.
Well, then,
They could come up with something. I don't know.
maybe. It would be.
Maybe he's
really,
been in prison this whole time, and now he busts out. Or maybe something happened in Resi 8. Or maybe Rose could even team up with him, actually. Because Rose knows Chrissy, and maybe Rose is manipulated into being a threat and manipulated into coming after Chris and Jill. And then that's the game. And then you find out at the end that the whole mastermind behind it is relative of Wesker. That could actually be kind of cool. Way to bring Rose in without making her the main protagonist.
Yeah.
And she's a mutation.
Wouldn't
So
that
she
be-
has a power set that can be used for you to fight against.
No, I guess that's fair.
Maybe he like kidnaps Rose because she's a SPO from Mother Miranda. He like uses her tissue to make new experiments or something like that.
Yeah.
Tortures her to make new experiments, something like that.
Uses her like a Kleenex. She said tissue.
Yeah, just take a piece of her DNA out and then just turn it into some kind of new weapon he can use. Something like that, I think would be very cool.
I mean, it could capture her and then force her to activate her powers against her will.
Yeah.
As opposed to like brainwashing, it's that she's like
She's basically like a battery that he uses.
yeah, and then uses her powers to make like minions and stuff. No, that would be the same as second game.
It would be, but at this point, they are gonna have to redo some parts because it's
Yeah.
the 9th game.
Yeah, like who's she gonna be fighting to? Unless
Who is Rose gonna be fighting?
no, like who would the protagonist be fighting? Because for the minions, like it has to be something or someone.
Yeah.
It's either people who are taken over or it's minions created by the power.
It could be just zombies. It could be just experiments. They could try to do another Nemesis, but I don't know. That could work or it could not work.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are things they can do.
I do have a question though.
Yes.
Leading into it. Where would we want this to happen? Like, what kind of setting? Because we had village, which is in
We've
like
had a lot of settings
We've had a
over
lot
the
of
years.
settings.
We've had an island, we've had a boat, we've had a village, we've had a house,
Yep.
we've had a bigger house, we've had underground like lab situation.
yeah.
Um,
Space. No, I'm
No,
joking.
not
space.
space.
It has to be very small and together. But
I
like,
don't know, because we've had a lot of different locations over the years.
it doesn't have to be somewhere new. It
We've
can
had
be,
Africa.
but it's a question of what would
It's a question of
what could we
scale.
see next, right?
Yeah, it's a question of scale and how big scale-wise do we want the location to be.
Do you want it to? Have
I
they
don't
done?
know.
Have they done any tundra locations?
Yes, but
Right.
not as a full game.
I see.
It was a location in one of the Revelations that they didn't stay too long in. So that could maybe be cool. That could actually add some horror elements. What if it's tundra, snowstorm, mixed with abandoned research facility?
I was thinking along those lines. It could be abandoned research facility, and it also could be taking place in a little town near the because research facilities would probably have a like community, right, that
Yeah.
lives there to do the
Would they?
research. Yeah, that's usually how like research facilities will work, is that they have people who take care of the site,
Yeah.
and then they work together on their research,
Okay.
because they have like a little bit of a, like a tiny village,
Yeah.
right? But it could be in a tundra. Another thing that could be under consideration is that they have long nights and long days.
Yeah.
Like they all
Well, that's
have,
another thing. Like in the dead of night, trying to figure out through a snowstorm, as you have like monsters around you tracking you, and you hear them in the distance,
What if
and
the
you use
game-
thermal to locate them,
Yeah.
like through the snow.
like
That
it,
could actually be cool.
it could be taking place during the long period of time where it's all night. So what I mean is that it could be happening at
Yeah.
like the near end, like they have 1 month or maybe a week or so before the end of that night ends,
Yeah.
and then the game ends with day, where it's like they have to make it to the
Yeah.
last day.
And so it's kind of like, not like FNAF, but the idea of FNAF where you have to like survive for one night, and it's just a really long night.
Yeah,
That
or,
could work.
or it could be like a couple days, like either way, where you have to survive until the day comes,
Yeah.
right? Because backup can't come because
Because the
snowstorm,
snowstorm.
and then the snowstorm wouldn't lighten up until
Yep.
daybreak, or not daybreak, until
Yeah.
like time comes. That could be
That
cool.
could actually be cool, because it
Yeah.
could be like the Wesker lures the siblings in
Yeah,
just when the
yes.
snowstorm starts to pick up. So they get there when it's all calm, and then once they realize, what's happening, it's this giant snowstorm, so they try to call for help, but they can't because of the big snowstorm.
Plus, he's probably got a plan where he blocks communications, but then
Yep.
the snowstorm makes it even harder.
Yep. And then you could also, with
Oh,
that...
and they don't realize it's a trap yet because they think it's blocked because of the snowstorm, but it's
Yeah,
actually jamming.
and it's abandoned, so they're
Yes.
like there's nothing going on
And
there.
then as they go through the game, they realize that there's something more to this, and there's
Yeah.
actually someone behind the scenes that made it difficult, and they were led here for this.
Yep. So it's basically could be a mix of outside in the snow, abandoned research lab,
Yeah.
and then like an underground massive facility.
It could be it could be an underground facility.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking of like where you go for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking the research facility could be like small and very clearly abandoned.
Yeah.
And then the door opens up and they fall into like the main facility that you play throughout the game. That could be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, because I also kind of want Ada there, you could have Ada be like out in the snow trying to find like what's jamming the signal or something like that, because maybe she's already there.
Yep.
Or maybe Chris or Jill gets a signal off like right before the storm hits that like contacts either Leon or Ada, and so one of them is there in the background trying to do stuff. Yeah, that could be really cool, because we haven't gotten something like that yet.
Yeah. So yeah, we
Yeah,
could
I
see
like
something
that.
like that.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
No, I feel like that's good.
Okay.
Let's do one recommendation.
One
and then-
recommendation?
yeah. Our recommendation is going to be a video that we recently put up. It's
that you recently put up.
Yeah. It's a tribute video.
Yep.
Where it's like clips with music in the back, all timed and looking good.
Yep.
And it's a song called Geraldine's Routine from Tape 5 for the Persona games. So it's mainly Persona 5, Persona 3, and Persona 3 Reload.
Yep.
And then a clip or two from Persona 4. But yeah. So that is going to be our recommendation.
Okie dokie.
And it's just called Persona-Geraldine's Routine GMV. So that's going to be today's episode. Follow us on whatever you're listening or watching this on, whether that be Spotify or YouTube.
Yep.
And we will see you all in the next one.
Goodbye.